Greetings and gratitude. Welcome to my channel, Life Coach with Z. It's your girl Z, aka Zalia. This is my podcast called Wonders of the Human Experience. Today's episode is episode 5, and we're going to be discussing the art of detachment and the importance of learning the difference between connection and attachment. Ooh, let me get my words right. Attachment. But without further ado, let's get right on into it. So I remember seeing this video on Instagram, I want to say, discussing about what's the point in getting with someone and it not being somebody, that you're going to be with in your future. And, I went through the comments and I was very puzzled, because everyone had somewhat of the same answers and saying it's not worth it. And who wants to do all of that and go through all that and still not end up, being with that person in the end. And I have a couple of things I want to share about that. So the first thing I want to share is I'm all about connection. I'm all about creating connections, and I'm all about learning and being around people that will help me elevate and evolve myself spiritually. I'm all about spiritual growth. And one thing that I have learned about this journey is there will be times where you will meet people, and this is for every single person you meet. You are here to learn, you're here to grow and evolve. So that means you will sometimes be in alignment with people simply for it to teach you something. And I feel like what a lot of people do is, and I'm pretty sure this is a societal thing. Is that a word? A society way of a mindset that society has been teaching us, that we have to find our one person and that'll be it. That we are always chasing this one perfect person. And I'm not saying that it's not out there and it's not true. But a lot of people don't take into consideration that this perfect person will exist if they as well go through that process and the journey of evolution. How do you expect to be perfect? You got to go through stuff, man. You got to go through lessons. So when people talk about finding their perfect somebody, a lot of them have to ask themselves, well, how am I with myself? Where is my level of self-love at, self-worthiness at? And a lot of people don't even know that they are not healed. You do have to be, in order to be in a healthy relationship, you will have to go through parts of yourself that you might be afraid of. So asking for something perfect when you are not perfect, and we are all perfectly imperfect in that sense. But to ask for someone ideally that's perfect in a sense of they are healed when you're not healed is kind of a bit of insane. It's a little bit out of your reach right now. And it's like people just expect it because they want it. They don't think they gotta earn it and work for it. And that's the thing with anything that we desire, anything that it's like a goal. It's just like any other goal. It's like you working out a muscle. It's literally you training a memory or some sort of nature in that, So a lot of people have to ask themselves, are you even ready to be in a healthy relationship? Are you? Because I know a couple of people that can get triggered very easily by things. If you get easily triggered by something, that is telling you that you haven't quite dealt with something that you need to deal with. So when we talk about having these people, these perfect ideal people, you do have to go through certain things before you can obtain that. That way, when you do obtain it, when you do get it, when it's in alignment, you don't lose it. You don't self-sabotage and you don't run from it, you know? And then another thing, that I wanted to talk about is the fact that everybody is not here to stay in our lives. You are not here to have long-lasting connections to these people. And I kind of want to elaborate on having what it means to have a long-lasting connection, because it is possible for you to be with someone and to have a connection to someone for eons, because energy doesn't die. Energy is always there. So in a sense, even if you don't physically see them, that energy, that connection that was created, it's still there. But when we sit up there and we have these expectations that leads to disappointment, we create these attachments. So society has programmed us into desiring attachments and expectations. And it's not bad to expect things, but it's not, in a sense, okay to expect somebody to be perfect or to be this ideal person that you have in your head when you have not taken the necessary steps to even keep that person. So we really have to be honest with ourselves when it comes to this stuff. And then, not only that, you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to do to get it? What type of discipline, I don't know how to say the word discipline. I'm not going to try. What type of discipline are you willing to go through? What type of lessons are you willing to go through to obtain that? And really have to ask yourself, be very careful when it comes to your expectations. Because like I said, there's nothing wrong with having them. But if your expectations are creating attachments to certain things, you might disappoint yourself. So if you are always going into every interaction thinking that it's going to turn out to be your forever person, and it doesn't, you're going to be upset. Like, you guys seriously can't think every single person that we interact with is going to be your forever person. Not to say that it's not possible, but most of these people are here to teach us. So be very wary of how you apply certain expectations, because it can hurt you in the end. And another thing that I want to talk about is when we have these expectations, and depending on whatever it is, it can somewhat also cause us to be within the past. Because if you are always expecting something that happened in the past, you're not actually within the present. And that's keeping you from actually seeing the person for who they are and seeing what it is, what lesson it is, if there is a lesson, which it always is a lesson in everything, whether it's quote unquote good or quote unquote bad. There's a lesson in everything. So regardless of what it is, it's important to keep a mindset of being within the present moment and seeing people for who they are now, not for who you want them to be, who you think they should be, and not who you see they can be. Okay? So make sure that you are always checking yourself when it comes to stuff like this. check yourself if you always feel like you are. And it's not to say to not use your past experience or your past lessons and to not apply them to, your present or your future. But I'm saying to not do it in a toxic manner. Just be mindful how you're doing it. We are here to learn. We are here to gain wisdom and to create things, create our realities. But if you are constantly creating a reality of the past when it's the present, always, then how are you able to actually receive something if you are so stuck on the what ifs or the whys? You got to be able to see it now. What does it look like now? So that is like one of the biggest things that I saw about that video. And another thing I kind of want to touch on is we have to be very careful when it comes to detaching from certain emotions, because we tend to bind our emotions to people, to relationships, to family, and that creates these ties. Now, I'm not saying that you creating a connection is bad. No. But when we bind our emotions and when we tie them to people sometimes, they create attachments. And I feel like our biggest issue in society is because we are human at the end of the day and we have emotions, we tend to attach and to not see it as just a connection. And also just our overall relationship with being in tune with our spirits can also leave confusion behind certain things. So a great example for that is, let's say if you're no longer friends with someone that you used to really care about, that connection is still there. That energy is still there. But because we attach to those connections, it creates these binding emotions that make us feel, this grief, this disappointment. And it makes us feel as if, and I'm not saying it's wrong or it's bad, but I want people to understand the importance of not attaching, not allowing those emotions to hold on to you in a sense. Because if you can't let go of something, if you cannot detach from something, what is that word? It starts with an S. If you cannot be static, I believe it's what it's called, and not allow things to create you to be emotionally driven, you're going to be controlled by your emotions. And I'm sure all of us have been there, done that, where we were out of control, out of tune with our emotions. And we make decisions, create decisions based off of our emotions. And, that in itself creates the perception of our realities. So back to the whole friend thing, we have to be careful because, myself included, I had to realize some of these people that I'm no longer friends with, that they were there to teach me something that I wasn't paying attention to within myself. I needed to lose those relationships. I needed to create those connections and then lose them to see why I lost them and to see why it simply just wasn't in alignment anymore. So it's not to say that you shouldn't care about your emotions. It's not to say that it doesn't matter, but it's to say that it happened for a reason, and it's meant to push us forward to continuing to be who we are supposed to be, not to tie us down, not to bind us to how it was, So this is really important to really get down and just really understand the art of detachment, and to not allow people to form attachments to you, and to not form attachments to others. And I kind of want to talk about frequency as well. So when we are on a certain vibration, a certain frequency, depending on what emotion you are on, you open yourself up to all of those emotions on that vibratory state. So if you are on a vibratory state of sadness, you're on a frequency that anything that can trigger that sadness will come. It will come in. And this can look like you back to back, getting some sort of, it can be anything, man. It could be someone saying something to you. It could literally be the smallest things that can trigger that anger, that sadness. And it's to really teach us about the emotion behind it. Why you feel that way. Why are you so, let's say, binded to the experience that created that emotion? So it does take work. It definitely takes work, and it takes time as well to really master the art of detachment, and the importance of learning the difference between connection and attachment. Because attachment will leave you feeling empty. If you lose that person, if that person is no longer in alignment with your past, that attachment that you have is going to literally make you feel like you need that person. You need that energy. You need what y'all had. And that can make you do certain things that will mentally or physically, even financially, fuck you up. So it's really about paying attention to your emotions, and being mindful to what and how you spend time with your emotions. Emotions plays a huge role in our journeys. So learning about your emotions, learning where they came from, how they came about, why you feel them the way that you feel them, is an extremely important thing. And once you are able to master your emotions and gain that emotional intelligence, you will see that everything is not meant to stay, and it's not meant to always be there. So it's not to say that you're not going to have a connection that'll last for years, but it's to bring you an understanding and an overstanding that just in case you do lose that person, just in case they're no longer in alignment with you, is to teach you to be grateful for that connection and to take what you can from that connection. But yeah, that is like, I want to say that's the most of what I have to say about the art of detachment. If you guys enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, also let me know. I would love to answer them. Check out my other YouTube channel called Render of Mars 444. I will be sure to put that in the description box. And yeah, guys, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next. Peace.